Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. Welcome to my cabin this morning. This is Beaver Creek Deer Camp. We're a couple of weeks away from deer season right now. So I'm in here just prepping the cabin, having coffee. I've got some trees to cut out of trails and stuff like that, just preparing for deer season. But while I was having coffee this morning, I got thinking about all of the comments over the past 5 years. Having this channel, different people that want to move to the state of Maine, different people that just plain want camps and cabins and all of that. Well, if you're new to the channel, I have worked on and built cabins I retired out of it after 35, almost 40 years of working on anything and everything that has to do with cabins in the state of Maine. So I'm a pretty good resource. So if you have any questions about cabins, go ahead. I'll answer them the best I can. And if you want to watch how this cabin was built, I have a series on building Beaver Creek. Go check that out. It's about 30 some odd videos, and it was the whole process in getting this little cabin built. For those of you that don't know, this little cabin is sitting way out in the woods all by itself on a big bog, Beaver Stream bog. The whole thing, everything that you see in here came in on the back of a utility trailer for a four-wheeler. That took the better part of a summer to get this place built. I was actually still building 2 weeks into the first deer season that I landed here. So let's talk about, owning a cabin and all of that. Everybody has that dream, or at least the people that I run with and are around. Most people have the dream for 30 years, 40 years, their whole life. Some get the opportunity to get it done. Some never get it done. And I've known both. I've known lots, because of the building, I've known lots of people that made their dream come true. And on the other hand, I've got friends and family that dreamed about it their entire life and never obtained it. So it's not an easy thing. I mean, you've got to find a place, and then most of the time it's a little bit of a travel to get there. So that's where the cost comes into building it, I think. A lot of time, energy, and money spent on moving materials. No different here, not necessarily fuel, but time. It took a lot of time to get the materials hauled in here. And it was fun. I had a great time doing it. So if you're looking at building a cabin or want to, my best advice is to just start. Get going on it. Now, once you have the cabin, that's where we are right now. The cabin is here. I have a cabin up north as well, the Rustic log cabin, if you want to check out my channel. But with a cabin comes responsibility. So another thing to think about when you're looking at a cabin is the responsibility of maintenance and taking care of it. Because a cabin that you don't take care of will go back to Mother Nature very fast. Faster than you would think. If you don't go to a cabin for 2 or 3 years, you can tell when you get there. You can tell from one summer to the next. But if you stretch that out to several years, and I've worked on cabins like that, as crazy as that sounds, I have worked on many cabins over the years. When the camp owner called me, they said they hadn't been to the camp in over 9 years. And they want me to go look at it and tell them what they want, what needs to be done, and fix it. I did many jobs like that, so it's not a far-fetched thing. One in particular, it was pretty much sitting on the ground. It had busted out windows, broken windows, all kinds of stuff. And it needed to be jacked up, needed posts and pads put back under it. The cabin had moved so much it almost crossed the property line onto the neighbor's camp lot. So we actually we saved it, but it had broke off the toilet pipe, all that, you know, your septic tank pipe where it goes up to the toilet. That had broke off because the cabin had actually shifted almost a foot to one direction. So you've got to maintain a cabin if you're going to own a cabin. You've got to at least go to it once a year, you know. And even that's not enough to really do maintenance and keep it up. But you do have to go check on these places and keep them looking like they are lived in. Or at least be intended to. I see a lot of stuff on YouTube now about, what's the word I want? Abandoned. I come across an abandoned cabin. Well, I want to touch on abandoned cabin. For all you YouTubers that are going out and saying these cabins are abandoned. Just because the grass isn't cut doesn't mean it's not that it's abandoned. Just because the grass is growing up. I got in here a couple days ago and the grass was 3 feet tall behind me. I only weed whack in here once a year. I bring the weed whacker in and I clean up the grass. It's a swale grass right in front of the cabin. I usually clean it up just before deer season. That's my once a year time to come in here and just clean everything up. And that's going to be my routine in years to come, unless I'm in here early in the summer. But just because the grass is tall does not mean the cabin is abandoned. So you people that are going around these cabins and calling them abandoned, you're actually trespassing. And, you know, not much more you can say about that. You're trespassing. Especially if there's a no trespassing sign or something like that. You're not supposed to be there. So stop telling people to go look for abandoned cabins. Is my thought. Now again, we got, just because like that guy of 9 years, it's still not abandoned. He still owns it. And I had other cabins. They're not abandoned. They are owned by people. So unless you're in Alaska and somebody went in there and built a cabin 50 years ago, died off, and no one's ever been there, now those might be considered abandoned. But here in the state of Maine, that does not mean nothing. That just means that the owner is from away. We have a lot of people that are from away that own camps in this state, and I worked for them over the years. I had customers from Maryland, New Jersey. That's a long ways to come. New York, that's a long ways to come to see their camp on a regular basis, so the grass does grow. So that's what my point is. It's not abandoned. So if you're going to get yourself a cabin, that's something to keep in mind. If you allow the grass to grow around the cabin, fly-by-night YouTubers, fly-by-night people that don't have a clue about reality of the Maine woods and Maine cabin life are going to assume that your cabin is abandoned. And to them, that means souvenirs. If they find something on your piece of property that they want to haul home, they consider it abandoned. So free for the taking. That's called stealing. You know, just because I haven't been here and cut the grass doesn't mean you can steal my fireplace grate. That's called stealing. Or if I've got a shovel hanging on the back of this building, or I've got tools out here hanging in trees, they're not abandoned. I'm using my place as an example, but they're not abandoned. I've worked on cabins for my entire life. There's cooking utensils, there's tools under cabins, hanging on trees, hanging on the side of cabins. They're not there for you to take as a souvenir because you think that cabin is abandoned. So here we're talking about maintenance, abandoned, so that's probably what we're going to call this video. This is not an abandoned cabin. So for you guys that are looking to get yourself a cabin, that's something to keep in mind. And then I've been, knock on a chainsaw, I guess I'll knock on wood. If you keep them looking used, you have less problems as far as people coming around. What's the other word I want? you know, oh, whatever. Cut. Looking for a train of thought. Oh yeah, the other thing that when it comes to your cabins, keep one thing in mind: out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. What does that mean? Well, number one, that means close your curtains when you leave. Or if you got blinds, put your blinds down. You don't need people peeking in your windows because they want to see inside, and it happens all the time. Most people don't mean anything by it. They're curious as to what the inside of your cabin looks like, because most people would like to, that come out and play around in this stuff, they would like to own a cabin. So they're really quite curious as to the interior of your cabin. And that's just something, you know, it's just out of sight, out of mind. You know, if there's something in there hanging on the wall, or a nice piece of furniture, or a cook stove, them old-fashioned cook stoves are great looking. They look great in cabins, but they are a big ticket item for stealing. And they don't just kick the door in and take your stove. I've repaired cabins where they took a chainsaw to the back wall, cut a hole in, walked right in, took the cook stove out. So not only do you lose a cook stove, but now you have got to repair your cabin because the back wall's cut out of it. So that's just something to keep in mind on owning a cabin. And there is, I want to say there's more maintenance to a cabin than playtime. It seems like owning a cabin is a lot of work if you're going to use it 12 months a year. My cabins, I use them more in the fall and winter than I do in the summer. I don't particularly like cabin life, July and August, basically because of heat. High humidity, high heat. To me, and my fishing, I like to fish May and the first part of June. So my fishing for lake trout come to a little bit of a standstill there. So, but when I like cabins is right now. So if you're looking to buy a cabin, build a cabin, this time of year, October, once you get to this weekend, Columbus Day weekend. Yes, I know it's Columbus Day weekend. Columbus Day weekend right now is one of the best times to be at camp. Starting in September, the temperatures start to drop, and now we're getting into October, November. These are just great weather days to be in a cabin here in the state of Maine. December, it'll start to get cold. We still don't have much snow, so it's still a great time to be at camp. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. So have yourself a sip of coffee. I'm going to get to repairing this chainsaw. I need to tighten up the chain, and then I need to put an edge on it, and I've got some trees to get cut out that have fallen down. I've got a trail over there that I don't use, but the animals use it. So if I don't get that tree out of there, they'll find a different road, and I won't be so fortunate to have one walking by the cabin. So I'm going to cut that tree out of the way. I've got another tree that came across my main trail, and then I got another main trail behind the cabin that's got a tree that's hanging me up now. So we're going to cut that out of the way. Got a few projects to do. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you next week.